I can only send out or have 5 conversations across my social media and my DMs. I can only answer 3 emails per day, do 1 podcast guest call or 1 client call. Whatever it is, you have to play with your schedule and fit in, what are you doing after that call? What are your kids doing during that time? Where can you fit in your time and tell your kids to go away, whatnot, so that you feel energized, so that you can actually give to your kids and give to your house and give to your business.
Yeah. Welcome to Mompreneur Mastery. I'm your host, Sydney O'Brien, an Instagram strategist turned content and messaging strategist after watching the online space get louder, buyers take longer, and content turn into a performance instead of real connection. On this podcast, you'll learn how to clarify your message so your content actually stands out in a sea of copy and paste trends and AI noise, and also how to strategize your content across platforms to build the trust and connection that turns followers into clients. All in doable, brain space saving episodes you can fit in between school pickup and reheating your coffee for the 3rd time. Let's dive in. So this is actually the 2nd time Amber has been on the podcast, but you, like me, have made a switch in your business. Can you tell us a little bit about the pivot you made and why you made it?
Yeah, so it was kind of like a pivot, but at the same time, I think it was coming back to what I truly am passionate about and what I was already doing. And it's really about conversations and communication. As introverts, we do it differently. And I was talking about that, but that wasn't the main focus until I sat back and realized that's what I love to talk about. I love to talk about conversations and communication styles. So why am I not doing that?
That's super valid. And for the people that don't know, like, what were you doing before you made the pivot?
I was an introvert confidence coach. So I was really working on introverts and boosting their confidence and embracing their own voice. And that is still what I do. But the clarity has really come. It is around your communication in that and understanding your introvert strengths and how you communicate so that you can have the conversations that do bring your voice out, that are a lot easier to have when you get to just share your message.
Yeah, I am also very much an introvert. Do you feel like it's easier to create content or have conversations now that you feel more like aligned with your business and like overall messaging?
I do, but I also feel like social media has taken such a turn in the last 6 months. And so therefore, I feel like my strategy is I'm embracing more my podcast, Introverts Unmuted, more my blog, more the long form content, more hanging out on threads, less Instagram. There's nothing wrong with Instagram. I have really been looking and going, this is not where I want to spend the majority of my time. It's not lighting me up. I love hanging out in the DMs. If you DM me on Instagram, I will answer you right away. But my content there doesn't feel like it's hitting. I actually did an experiment, reposted the exact same post that had, a couple months ago, it had 50 likes, 20 comments, shares. I posted it and it's minimal views, 13 likes, that tells me that the algorithm has changed. Things have changed. And I'm sure you have really noticed it as well. And so it's different over there. And so I feel like my energy, which is limited, doesn't need to be over there as much.
That's super valid. I've definitely been seeing the same thing. And that's like one of the main reasons I made my big business pivot from an Instagram strategist just to like general content and focusing more on like long form content, but still having like social media be a part of that. But it feels like the amount of time that other like Instagram coaches, strategists, whatever, want us to spend on content is not worth like what you get out of it at all.
Yeah, exactly. And as introverts, we have limited energy. Many of us are moms, we have kids, we might have part time jobs, we have other things happening. And I don't have the energy to spend hours on a post that gets 200 views and 15 likes and no sales.
Yeah.
That to me is not worth my time. Or I can go post on LinkedIn, and first of all, it's still going to show up. I was on my LinkedIn feed and I was looking at a post. It was from 4 months ago and it showed up on my feed. That's telling me that LinkedIn, I know they're also going through an algorithm change, but it's showing me content that's relative to me that even if it's 4 months old, it's still going to show up. And I think that's really powerful in long form content. Instagram, you're not seeing that. You barely even see your followers. I see more ads right now than anything. And so I can't get to what I want. While on other platforms, whether it's Threads, LinkedIn, Substack, I can get to the content that I want a lot easier and consume it faster.
Yeah. That's like a really important thing to keep in mind, especially when you take into consideration your like mental and emotional bandwidth as well as like severe time constraints. Cause like the majority of the listeners here are also parents. And that is just a very real thing that a lot of people don't take into consideration. But that like the longevity of a post is much more important than, trying to go viral on Instagram or something when someone might see it, but it's still like they won't ever see it again in like a couple hours even.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Instagram has done well with DMs. And, I almost want it to be like Facebook where it has a separate messenger app for me to like hang out with my people. Because that's just where if I open Instagram, I'm in my DMs because it has done well in the fact of it's easy to communicate with people. And I also really enjoy stories because it is a place to post your info, connect very easily with minimal effort. And it's easy to connect with others as well in stories, whether you're, leaving a reply or whatnot to start that conversation. And because as introverts, we want that deeper conversation. And I think that's why short form content feels empty to us because it doesn't actually fulfill us.
Yeah, that feels very spot on for me personally as well. Like it is so unfulfilling and I really hate having to constantly show up, feeling like I have to show up on like reels or something on Instagram. Like that's just not my thing, not for me. But I do enjoy stories. I think that's a great way to kind of keep in touch as like a potential conversation starter and also just like stay top of mind without having to like write a whole blog or something in marketing that way. But it is like not an entire marketing strategy on its own. It's like a very small piece for sure.
Yeah, exactly. It's just part of the strategy and knowing that you have a bigger part. Where are you directing your people to? And I think we have to remember that's what social media is for. It's to be social and then connect where you want them to and not have it as your primary marketing strategy, which I think many years ago, a lot of us, that is what it was. That was our primary marketing strategy. And we are realizing, oh my gosh, that is not working.
Yeah. Yeah, things have definitely changed there. Another reason why I like made my own pivot. It's like it
Mhm.
feels really kind of I can't think of a good word, like gross and icky for people to still say like, "Oh, you can still fill all your like group coaching program spots using just Instagram and make like all these sales." Like it's helpful, it's a tool if you use it the right way, but if you have like no team and no time and like no energy, it's not where you should be focusing your efforts.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other reason I started to pivot more into conversations too is because conversations don't just happen online. There's podcasting. These are conversations. There is in person networking that has really taken off. Introverts are going out, they're meeting people for coffee, and we don't necessarily want to be fully awkward the entire time we're there. And so it's really about how to navigate these different types of conversations in different scenarios. Because when we look, our core message of what we talk about is going to be the same, but it's going to come across differently, whether you're at a corporate event or you're at a coffee chat with someone you just met or in the DMs. And so, really understanding how you're going to communicate within those conversations.
That makes a ton of sense. Are there any, with like the people you've worked with, are there any signs when that tells you immediately like someone needs more connection with their audience, with the people they're working with?
Think a lot of times they will hold back on what they really want to say, or they don't take the conversation deeper because they are worried maybe about what the other person's going to think or say. We are, many introverts, we are people pleasers. We don't like conflict. We want to keep things balanced, level, but all we're doing is harming ourselves. So we really need to express ourselves and ask the deeper questions. And I was told, as a kid, like, don't ask those types of questions. Like, those aren't. So then when I got older, it was like, well, I'm bad at asking questions. I'm not bad at asking questions. I just ask different questions because I'm curious about different things within that person's life. So when you go, hey, I like to ask these types of questions because I want this conversation to go beyond how's the weather. And it can be nerve wracking. So really going and digging into yourself and going, how do I want to express myself? And know that you get to step into your leadership when you decide, I'm going to do this. I'm going to communicate like this. And you will either find your people or you will not, and be okay with the not, which is really hard. You're going to have to sit with that.
Yeah, that is hard, especially if you are one of those like people pleaser type of introverts, which I know a lot of us are, like you said. But it is like, I don't know, it took a while to get there, but I kind of love getting the no's because then I'm like, oh, this person isn't for me. I could, send them elsewhere if I know someone else that could help them better. But I also know I can then go on and find someone that is the person that I should be talking to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always find too, the conversation doesn't have to end when they say no. Like, you've most likely built up a relationship with that person. So whether you're referring them out, or maybe they start referring you, or you decide to do a blog swap, where else in your business is there room for collaboration? Or perhaps you just completely realize that's not for me, and that's okay too. And I always say, you don't know who they know. And it's really true is that you don't know who's in their community. So if you guys maybe decide to do an IG live collab, which I feel like we should all bring back, maybe you decide to do that and you get to share audiences or podcast swaps, or there's many ways to do collaborations that can be long form content as well.
That's such a great point. And I think especially for more introverted people, that's like a really good way to do it. And it's also a really helpful thing now when so many people are kind of craving more connection, that if you're doing a collaboration and you're getting exposed to someone else's audience, you already have like this little bit of built-in like trust and connection because they already trust the person you're collaborating with, which could be really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're really almost skipping that initial awkward stage and going into more deeper connections. So it can be really beneficial, especially as introverts, because then we skip our least favorite part and head into the meat and potatoes of conversations that we love. And I've been trying to do more blog collaboration. So I just read a blog post, they put it up. It's there. And it doesn't take a lot of my energy. I write the blog post. I already have all my bio and all of that organized, and I just send it off. They post it, they edit it, whatever needs to get done, and then I share it.
That's so smart. am like taking mental notes to look into this later. I've done like these podcast swaps, but blog posting is so smart, especially for when you don't have the time or energy or desire to look cute in front of a camera.
Yeah, exactly. So it's something that can just happen naturally, and it there doesn't need to be a timeline. Hey, in a couple months, I'll get this post to you. Is that okay? Okay, sounds good. Set a deadline, have it out, done. And many introverts love to write. And so when we start embracing that strength and going, hey, I can write and I can do all this, then it's going to come more naturally.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I also never made the connection between like being an introvert and writing, but now that I think about it, that's so true. I would so much rather write
Mhm.
something than like say it out loud.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure most introverts have a stack of journals hidden from way back when, and they need to realize that those are gold. Okay. Need to sit when we decide to sit with ourselves as introverts and self reflect, which we're really good. Journal, use your skills. And when you go, hey, I'm an empath, I'm an active listener, I'm a writer, and you do start utilizing those in your business, then you're like, oh, wow, okay, this is how I communicate. And then put it out there.
Yeah, I'm actually feeling a little bit personally attacked right now as I see like my stack of journals across the room here.
Yeah, my desk has many on there.
That's like really helpful though. I'm excited to work on that myself. Is this like, are these conversations you tend to have a lot with your clients?
Yeah, I think it's about really figuring out where you are feeling with yourself and sitting with yourself and how you can dig deeper into your strengths. So maybe you realize I'm not much of an empath. Okay, so then where are you in your conversations? When I'm having a conversation with someone, I like to pick up keywords that they use, or maybe there's certain words that they continue to use, and then I will reflect it back on them. So then I'm active listening, which is one of my skills, and I am mirroring them, which also makes them feel seen and heard during that. So it's really about sometimes communication is a skill that can be taught. And so it's using your own strengths within that. So maybe you're like, oh, I don't really do that. Okay, so how can maybe you voice note, maybe you pick up tone better. Let's do more of that. So really it's for my clients is about leaning into their strengths and saying, how can we utilize that in conversations so that people feel more seen and heard, which builds the trust.
So smart. Because I sometimes feel like having those conversations is a little bit nerve wracking. I get like so anxious going to like parties and being expected to talk to people. So I like especially feel that way about like business things. So I'm so glad that like people like you exist who can help others through it and like find their strengths and make sure that's kind of how you view the conversation and like steer it.
And I think recognizing when we go into conversations, because I still get nervous, I still prepare for these things. During the holiday season, you have lots happening. And so it can be really like nerve wracking. And even after holiday season, as to recovering from all of that and what's next. It's a lot. And so making sure as introverts, we put in time to prepare and to recover from our conversations, whether they're online, because online conversations are still draining your energy, and in person, whether you're networking or you're at your husband's work party or you're at your kid's thing, that is all energy draining.
Super true. I had a conversation with my husband about that the other day. He like signed us up to go to two different work events on the same day. And he's like, that might be too people-y for you, huh? And I was like, yeah, we got to pick one or the other.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really going, okay, hey, what can I actually do? And like within your business, go, okay, well, I can only send out or have 5 conversations across my social media and my DMs. I can only answer 3 emails per day, do 1 podcast guest call or 1 client call, whatever it is, you have to play with your schedule and fit in. What are you doing after that call? What are your kids doing during that time? Where can you fit in your time and tell your kids to go away, whatnot, so that you feel energized, so that you can actually give to your kids and give to your house and give to your business.
Yeah, that's like a super important thing to remember because I feel like when we're in this era of like loss of connection and human touch on social media, we're also very much at the same time in this era of like so much like hustle and grind culture. And I hate it so much. So these are like very good reminders.
Yeah, I am all about having your coffee and just sitting down, maybe doing a meditation. And when your kids can be beside you, and because they get to experience it and be in that energy and allowing them to slow down too. And I think we forget that our kids have to slow down too. I am you could say, elder millennial. So I have a lot of cycles I'm breaking because of that. And then so making sure, hey, my 7-year-old wants to do energy work. We're going to do energy work. We're going to meditate. We're going to do our deep breaths, and then we're going to move on. And them going, hey, mom, you're really yelly today. I think you need your timeout chair. Yeah, I probably do. So really, it's coming down to, once again, I always say you have to continue to lean into yourself and listen and sit in the uncomfortable darkness.
Yeah, that's super true. I don't know what technically qualifies as an elder millennial, but I'm definitely at least a millennial and like in that same boat. And that kind of necessary, but like uncomfortable communication is like not only for business, but also a lot in parenting when it comes to breaking those cycles. I have noticed, yes,
Yeah, parenting is the biggest lesson that we didn't know we needed.
absolutely.
So it's crazy. And I think it can transition into our business and how we want to communicate and be like, oh, well, I don't want to do this, or I don't want to keep shouting into the void of what feels like Instagram right now. How can I strategically speak calmly and still have that confidence behind my
Yeah, there's
voice?
definitely a lot of overlap there, just like parenting communication and business marketing communication for sure. Is there like one tip that you always give to new clients when it comes to communicating just to like help them get started if they're feeling really overwhelmed?
Yeah. Get off everything for at least a day and just grab your journal probably, or if you need to voice note it, but just talk out your thoughts, write out your thoughts and what is happening in your brain, because there's probably a lot. And then we're going to look back and look at the themes that are coming up within that. Most likely, is overwhelm, and how can we simplify it? And probably within your writing, your subconscious is going to eventually take over when you're journaling, I find. And so really leaning into that, what is it trying to tell you? It's probably telling you to slow down and slow down your conversations, because many times on social media, we rush through conversations. What if we just answer slowly when we have time? Because it's not urgency that is needed at any point on social media. It's fine to take a break and to not answer your messages every single minute of the day, and realize that when you slow down, then your brain has a chance to catch up, and so does your body. So you can really just then appreciate all of it. And your conversations are going to be better because your brain is slower. The questions are going to be better. So my biggest tip is just slowing down and going into yourself, and then realizing, hey, it's going to be okay.
I love that. I feel like we all need more time, like to just completely step away from all things like social media. It's so overwhelming and stressful, even when you think it's just like a very lighthearted way to like pass time while you're like waiting in the checkout line in the grocery store or something. It's so overstimulating.
Yeah, I know. And I've caught myself scrolling on
Yeah.
TikTok and I'm like, how did I get here? And I'm like, this isn't helping me. So really trying to remove apps and to try to realize, why are you actually there? What are you avoiding from actually doing it? Because a lot of times it's avoidance when we're in the scroll. We're avoiding whether it's cleaning our house or maybe playing with our kids or really talking to someone in person.
Yeah, that's super true. And I think that, yeah, if we do spend more time away, we can really prioritize having the deeper connections that we've lost so much of, and not to just like continually hate on social media. I do kind of love aspects of it, but I am very much over the like constant recycled trends and like AI content that fills feeds and just says a whole lot of nothing. So I'm really glad that you are out here sharing how to have these deeper connections that are oh, so like very much needed right now. And you have a resource that can help people get started with that. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so my guide is called Authentic DM Converse Connections for Introverts. And it's really a guide. It goes through, first of all, we talk about your mindset and getting into that space so you can actually have these conversations. And then we talk about the 6 phases of conversations from hello, introduction, all the way to closing the sale or even after the pitch. What happens? And then like a follow-up strategy. So it's going to walk you through an entire conversation in this guide through different
That's
aspects
amazing. I
within
feel
your
like even just
business.
having like an outline of a plan makes it so much easier to actually do instead of just continuously like putting it off. I used to work in financial aid, and when I was like training there and I had to like call people and ask them for financial information as like an introvert. And also it's like one of those things that we're told growing up, don't talk about money. Like don't do that. So it was like extra stressful. And someone was like, write out the conversation ahead of time and your questions. And I was like, well, that seems silly, but it's actually so helpful.
Yeah, when we feel prepared and we have a plan, it's a lot easier to go in. And I totally feel that my part-time job right now, I do administration, I do payroll and payables and receivables and all the things. So I do have to call people and ask them for money because they haven't paid their bill yet. I'm like, hey, you owe money. You gotta pay this. And it's awkward. And I don't, as an introvert, and sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, please don't answer the phone so I can just leave a voicemail. Right. And it's like every introvert's dream when you have to make a phone call sometimes because I would rather talk to that person. I realize in person. I'd rather have a face to face conversation. If I have to book an appointment, I would rather go to that place and book it in person than pick up my phone to call.
It's so terrifying.
It's
I
terrible.
make my husband call things like if I have to. I'm like, no, this is a you task now. I'm not doing it.
I know. My husband knows that I just procrastinate long enough that he'll have to do it.
It's fair. We got to distribute the household
Yeah.
tasks. That's just redistributing to them. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. That's why we're partners in crime. We're an effective team. My husband and I always say we're an effective team. We actually had it written into our vows when we got married that we're an effective team because it takes 2 people. And even in a conversation, it takes 2 people to have a conversation. And if the other person is not responding back, then it's not a conversation.
I am really excited to check out that guide, and I will definitely be sharing the link for that in the show notes. And I know you also have a podcast. Can you remind us what it's called and where to find you on Instagram as well, or Threads?
Yeah. So my podcast is Introverts Unmuted. So if you are an introvert, you should probably be listening to my podcasts. I talk a lot about just embracing your creativity and your social anxiety and your solitude. I have most frequently lately, I have been having a lot of guests come on to chat about their introversion story and how they market their business as an introvert. So it is a really good time. And you can, if you subscribe to my Substack, then you will get all of that in your inbox each week when an episode gets released. Or you can find it Spotify, YouTube, where
Sounds so helpful. I will link to that in the show notes as well. And thank you so much for coming back on, because you came on previously when I first launched the podcast, but it was so great to talk to you again. That's it for this episode of Mompreneur Mastery. If you're building a business around your life, not the other way around, and you're tired of being told to hustle harder to make sales when you're already hustling at 110%, I hope this gave you a breath of fresh air. And if it did, I would love it if you left a quick review or shared this with another mom entrepreneur who is ready to market with more strategy and way less stress. And if you want to see what a cohesive content map across multiple platforms with strategic messaging looks like, check out the link in the show notes to grab your free copy of the Buyer Journey Content Map. I'll see you next time.